Hello, everyone, and welcome to probably your very first HTML and CSS course. My name is Dandy Joshua, and in this course, we are going to learn the basics of HTML and CSS to get you started in web development and eventually advance into more complex stuff. So to begin, we're going to start off with HTML and CSS, and we're going to go ahead and get our hands quite dirty at first instance. But before we do that, let's just learn the basics. First of all, what is HTML and CSS? Well, HTML can be defined as the bare bone structure, otherwise known as the skeleton, so to say, of any website or web application. While CSS is like the makeup. It makes your site look nice, makes it look beautiful, adds color, and adds design to it, making it more attractive. But then we have something called JavaScript. JavaScript is meant to give your application, your web application, or your website life, a brain practically. But in this course, we are going to focus on HTML and CSS, helping you to get better acquainted with it, and then you can move on to JavaScript in later times. Now, to begin, HTML and CSS is quite simple to understand. It's all about using what we call tags and using what we call properties. What are tags, first of all, in HTML? Well, tags are more or less representations of HTML elements. In HTML, we have so many tags, and we're going to go over them in the course of these tutorials. So now, let's take a look at some examples. If you take a good look at this page, you'll see a couple of texts spanning from left to right, top to bottom. All of this is possible because of HTML. Wrapping this inside a particular HTML tag makes it a heading element that makes it look this big. But then you may wonder, how do you get it to be on the center of the screen? How do you get it to look like this? How do you get the background of this web page to look like this? And so on and so forth. All of that is possible because of CSS. But then things such as the text being put here, images being put here too, are all because of HTML. So now, this is the website for Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a text editor but with superpowers that makes it an IDE for us, an integrated development environment. So go ahead to code.visualstudio.com/download and download VS Code for your PC. I'm using a Mac, and in my case, I've already downloaded VS Code. If you're using a Linux system, you can download either the Debian version or the RPM. So the Debian version is mostly for Debian-based operating systems, Linux distributions rather, such as Debian, Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and so on and so forth. Then we have the RPM, which is for Red Hat, Fedora, SUSE. I do not know much if it's for CentOS, but if it's available for CentOS, fine and good, no problem. Then we finally have that for Windows. So it's available for Windows 10, Windows 11, and above. As if we have any version of Windows that is more than 11 right now. Okay, so you can go ahead and click download for whatever operating system you are using. And when you click download and you have it downloaded, go ahead and install it and then open it up. Now, I would like you to go over to your command prompts on this case your terminal, because in your terminal you are going to have a couple of things. So let me clear this out. Okay, so in your terminal you can do a lot of things. You can create folders, you can create files, but then the commands vary for different operating systems. If you are using Windows, I would advise you use PowerShell for some of these operations, so you already will have root access and it should not prevent you from doing a couple of things. Now, I want you to create a folder, maybe inside your documents folder. Create another folder inside of it and call it projects or whatever you might like, maybe Softnext Academy Bootcamp. And then after creating that, I want you to create another folder inside of the project folder and call that folder HTML and CSS tutorial. Now, when you do that, I want you to go over to your VS Code right here, click on open, Then when you click on open, you select the folder that you want to go to. And in my case, it's inside my desktop. I have HTML and CSS. But don't worry, you can open yours wherever you want. It could be inside documents, create another folder inside and open that up. But in my case, I'm using desktop and we see it's a HTML and CSS tutorial. I'm going to open this. So I already have it open. As such, I can create a file inside here by clicking this icon and call it index.html. Now, HTML files, just like other files, have what we call extensions. Extensions are practically just the last half after the dots of files. So when it comes to videos, we have MP4, we have MOV and things like that. Then when it comes to music, we have .mp3, we have .av, .mau, m4u, and so on and so forth. So for HTML, we have only .html. This simply tells the browser or your system to run this particular file as a HTML file. So translate it as a HTML file and show me the content. All right, cool. So if you have VS Code installed, it will be nice of you to install some extensions, one of which is going to be Live Server, and the second is going to be, the first is going to be Live Server, and the second is going to be IntelliSense. I want you to install this so that your programming journey is going to be a little bit easier and you don't have to start doing every single thing from scratch like I did back in 2018. So go ahead and download Live Server and IntelliSense. Let me check. I think I should have them. All right, so I have IntelliCode, I have Live Server. Yeah, those are them. IntelliCode and Live Server, rather, not IntelliSense. IntelliCode and Live Server. All right, so if you have that installed, let's go ahead and get into our HTML and CSS tutorial.